What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday morning, June 20th, 2023. We're going to be going through our weekly prep together. So, yesterday, markets were closed for Juneteenth. So, we're going to start our week this week. And this is the first time I'm opening my charts. So, we're going to kind of go through everything together and do our prep here. So, first thing on a ES chart is the new week opening gap. There's really not much. I highlighted it here. So that's the gap between Friday's close and the Sunday open, which would be here actually. So actually, I drew this rectangle, but we actually want to draw it. Friday's close and Sunday's open would be down here, and we can highlight that. So very small new week opening gap, basically 58 to 59, a 1 point new week opening gap between the close of Friday and the open on Sunday. So what could that mean? That's just basically a kind of you could look at it as a magnet for price, 58, 59. But a very small gap, not like the ones that we have back here. Here, if we go to a bigger chart, not like the ones we have like here, which have still not been filled. Right. All right. So let's go ahead and zoom out to a weekly chart and see what we got going on here. Okay. So it looks like we have filled in some volume imbalances here, right? In this area, we have filled those in completely here. And now we have a big fair value gap on the weekly chart. Right? From here to here is a fair value gap, and then we also have this big opening new week opening gap from last week that we have to fill down here. And then below that, we have the volume imbalances. Here, I'll get rid of that. We have the volume imbalance from here. Remember this area I highlighted? I believe it was, 2 weeks ago. This volume imbalance. So we have, because we have gone up so much, we've created more imbalances below us that need to be filled. They don't necessarily need to be filled, but it creates weak structure in the market, and it's going to be less likely that the market continues up further and further without filling in at least some of these imbalances, right? So that's why I'm pointing these out. So new week fair value gap, the new week opening gap, and the volume imbalance from down here. Those would be the main areas that I would target to the downside. So that would be way down here. So we got a lot of room to go. We'd be, the 4350s, 4300, and then down here even 4220 to 4240 could be areas below us. Now we're all the way up here at 4347, so we are quite a bit ways away. But again, that's on the weekly chart, right? So these are all weekly candles. It can take several weeks to get down here and actually fill these gaps, right? So this is not going to happen today or tomorrow or maybe even this week, but maybe over the course of a couple weeks, we begin to correct some of this activity. All right, zooming into a daily chart. I'm going to need more days on this. Let's see, 1 year, 1 day. Okay. Okay, so zooming in a little bit to a daily chart. The 4420s would be an interesting area that I would want to see hold for a continuation higher, right? For the short term. So 4420s, which would basically be kind of this area here. I won't necessarily call it an order block. There's a little bit of a volume imbalance on the daily chart. but this appears to be, it's the close of this candle, it's the open and close of this candle, and it's the volume imbalance and open on this candle. This area here would be an area of support for me going into today, going into this week, for us to remain higher, because we could, come down and then up again, right? But if we break through that area, it's likely that we could come down here and fill this. There's a fair value gap here, right there on this daily chart. This whole candle is basically a fair value gap all the way down to the new week opening gap, right? So this is a big gap in here that needs to be filled, right? So 4380s all the way down to 4300s, big imbalance there. As far as room above us, 4493.75 was the high. So 4500 would be an obvious round number. And then if we go back on the weekly chart, we can see some highs above us. 4539 to even 4600 could be the targets above us. I'm looking over here. There's not really many imbalances after that. We could be, yep, this is not a gap here. This has been filled, right? This fair value gap has been filled. So yeah, really 45 50 to 4600 would be the next area target to the upside, right? So we can highlight that there. Target that to the upside. All right. Now let's see, what do we got for events this week? All right. So nothing today. Tomorrow we have Powell at 10 a.m. But that's not going to be a big one. That's not going to be like the interest rate decision that we had last week. That's just going to be a little speech or whatever. Not as important as last week's data was. And Thursday, we've got some stuff early in the morning. So yeah, like 7 a.m. Unemployment claims. Powell testifies at 10 a.m. So a lot of Powell speeches Wednesday and Thursday. Be mindful of that. Friday, all of this stuff is pretty much before market open, with the caveat of this PMI at 9:45. So be mindful of that on Friday. Okay, so that's kind of a high-level overview of just some target areas. Basically, a summary would be that we have a lot of imbalances below us to fill, but at the same time, on the upside, we have not much in our way until the 4540s to 4600 area. That area could be reached pretty quickly without much resistance. Now, going into today, my trading for today on the 20th, I would want to say that this area would be my line in the sand for today's daily bias. I'd like to see this area hold. And going into smaller time frame chart. Yep, so we got some fair value gaps here on the 15-minute. So going into today, I would expect, these areas to hold and fill. So again, potentially down to that support that I marked in the daily chart. Again, the 4420s, essentially 4417 to 4423. And then this fair value gap, 4423 to 4429. It could potentially fill that, come into the bottom of it, come into that support. And I'd be looking for signals to buy there. My ideal setup would be filling in these imbalances and showing signs of a good displacement to the upside for longs. For shorts, we would have to get an energetic break below and then come up and retest, fail, and continue lower. And down to the downside, of course, we have all those targets that we marked. So we'd have to monitor for continuation on that. But for the day time frame, probably my targets would be, well, we have a fair value gap here. All right. They're down to 44.10. So quite a bit of gaps from this Thursday rally. And then, yeah, below Thursday's low, this area, there could be some liquidity in to take out. So price may reach for this liquidity down here below 4,400. So we can look for that for today's downside targets. So again, for going into today specifically, so we have the week set up. Going into today, I'd be looking for this fair value gap to fill, these lows to hold for continuation to the upside, targeting Friday's range, right? So target that area of range. To the downside, we break through this area, we fill in these gaps, we retest, fail, break down to Thursday's lows, perhaps take some liquidity below 4,400 and see what happens there. Do we get continuation down into these gaps, or do we take liquidity for a run higher? That's what I'd be looking for today. All right.